Welcome to the Busy Christian Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Collier. Today's episode is brought to you by the BCM Insiders. A shout out to the Insiders. You are on the official email list where you get updates, behind the scenes, and free stuff, of course. So if you're interested in joining the BCM Insiders, head to brookecollier.com, fill in your email where prompted, and then go check your inbox. Today is episode 72, 3 tips to stay consistent during your busy season. But before we get started, can I admit something to you real quick? Staying committed to spiritual disciplines in my current busy season is hard, and I struggle. End-of-year events, camp registrations, sports schedule shifts, you name it. All of that can compound into something that takes my eyes off of God. If I know I'm feeling this as a busy Christian mom, you are too. This is why today I'm talking about my 3 tips to stay consistent during your busy season. These have helped me prioritize God during the springtime, so I know it can help you too. As you may know, we are in our spiritual spring training mini-series where we are gearing up for our busy season in order to continue living out our faith well. Last week we talked about staying connected to Christ with our crazy schedules. This week we're building on that, and you'll hear my 3 tips to stay consistent during your busy season. We are halfway through April and summer is right around the corner. We can all relate to schedules being thrown off and randomness being added to our daily tasks. My goal for us today is to take our eyes off of all of those changes, aka distractions around us, and focus on the constant, Jesus. Let's do a quick and honest check-in. How are all those good spiritual discipline routines you established early in the year going for you now? I know my consistency has been thrown off. Do I get it right 100% of the time? No way, I'm not Jesus. Please know that you are in good company here with me. Whether you've fallen off the wagon or you're trucking along, know that there is always a way to honor God moving forward by doing the next right thing. I know I've had to check myself a couple of times already this spring. I know I can't be the only one who needs accountability. So let's dive into this together. My 3 tips to stay consistent during your busy season. Tip 1, set a goal. This may be obvious, but I have to ask myself, am I actually setting a goal here? Remember, good goals are SMART goals. Remember, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you have a SMART goal attached to your spiritual disciplines, great. If it's not as fine-tuned as you'd like it to be, let's do an example together using the SMART acronym. Let's say I want to do better at attending Sunday church this spring. Specific, attend most Sunday church services this spring. Measurable, attend 90% of Sunday church services this spring. Achievable, 90% is achievable and factors in surprises like illness or something out of our control. Also, shout out to online sermons. Relevant, I want to attend church because it helps me be intentional with my faith, and this part matters greatly. Time-bound, I know spring has already started, but between now and the end of school, that gives us about 6 Sundays depending on your school district. Now it's your turn. Take a moment now and think about a potential goal you have with a spiritual discipline you like to focus on. Here are a few ideas. You can use one of these to create your own SMART acronym or come up with one on your own. Here are some examples. Reading my Bible daily for 10 minutes. Praying 3 times a day for 5 minutes at a time. Meet with my life group every other week to check in on our growth. Tell a different person each week about something God is doing in my life. Listen to worship music on my commute to work. Journal thoughts to God for 10 minutes each day. Fast and pray 1 to 3 days each month. Meditate on God's word for 5 minutes before I go to bed. Plan 1 to 3 days each month to fully rest with a heart posture of focusing on God. Increase my tithe by a certain percentage for these spring months. Seek out at least one project to serve someone in need. The list goes on. The great thing about setting a goal with the focus on God is that there are so many possibilities. Once you've come up with your SMART goal, write it down and tell someone in your Christian community. Give that person permission to keep tabs on you and provide accountability. Yes, it can be uncomfortable, but zero growth happens in the comfort zone. We know this. Tip number 1 of my 3 tips to stay consistent during the spring may seem simple, and that's because it is. Setting a SMART goal works because you're being intentional about what you want to accomplish, and you're putting parameters around the goal so that you actually get it done. My goal this spring is to be consistent in studying the Bible. I'm building my SMART goal around this. Tip number 2, make a plan. You may feel like you are thriving in life this spring. You go, Glen Coco. But maybe you're feeling the opposite, and how in the world are you supposed to get any work done when they keep changing the field day date for your kids and keep throwing in random sprinkled days of, look at the stuff our kids did, come see it at school. Or maybe you're somewhere in between those two ends of the spectrum. Whatever your circumstance, making a plan is the next best step after setting your goal. Make a plan is officially tip number 2 in my 3 tips to stay consistent during your busy season. Take a moment to either say aloud or write down your SMART goal. It's okay to tweak it if at any point the SMART goal isn't quite fitting into the SMART acronym. It's your hint that something isn't working within the goal parameters. Here's my example. My SMART goal is to read and study my Bible this spring at least 5 times a week for 20 to 30 minute sessions, or however it realistically breaks up due to soccer schedules, end-of-year parties, and business deadlines to meet. Hooray for SMART goals! My goal meets all the SMART parameters, but how am I going to actually reach my goal? One way I like to use to come up with the plan is a good old party invitation. Yes, it's really that simple. When I was younger, if I wanted to invite friends over or go do something, I was required to gather information and propose my request. If it was missing any necessary info, my request was denied until I could come up with the missing information, or if my allowed rebuttal swayed my parents enough. By the way, this is a genius parenting hack. Through doing this over the course of my time in my home during those school-aged years, my parents taught me the skill of independently collecting information on any given topic and learning how to pitch the idea. This comes in handy for me on the daily, and you can bet I'm doing this with my kids. Here's how to use the party invitation format to gather information for tip number 2, make a plan. You can set yourself up for success when working toward achieving your SMART goal. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Again, it's not hard. It just takes forethought. Now, let's take my SMART goal and fill it into the party invitation. Here's my plan on exactly how I'm going to read and study my Bible this spring at least 5 times a week for 20 to 30 minute sessions. Who? Me and my Bible study group. What? Read and study the Bible. When? 5 days a week plus 1 group discussion a week. Where? On my own for study days and with the group on discussion days. Why? To grow closer to God and learn more about Him. And how? We're using currently Valleys by Kat Armstrong. I'll link that one in the show notes. She's amazing. I can't get over how simple this step is. Take a few minutes to come up with your party plan. Write it down underneath your SMART goal. You can make a note in your phone, or if you're the good old-fashioned pen and paper type, get those gel pens out, girl. Let's go. Putting in the effort to make a solid SMART goal, followed by making a plan with a party invitation, is a great way to ensure you're well on your way. Tip number 3, be disciplined. I'll shout this from the mountaintops until the end of my days. The difference is in the discipline. The difference is in the discipline. If you look at the difference between those who make progress on goals versus those who don't, you'll easily spot one difference: discipline. Tip number 3 is be disciplined. Anything worth having is worth working for. With a coaching and athlete mentality, I've had years of training on the art of discipline. You can do this. Here are some pro tips for being disciplined. I'll break them down. Remember your why. Pray through tough moments. Invite accountability. My best advice for being disciplined is this: remember your why. Oh good, you've already done this on your party invitation on the making a plan part. Pro tip, get deep with your why. List every reason imaginable as to why you want this goal to come to fruition. As a believer, one of my driving motivations behind why I do what I do is because of my why. Souls are at stake, and God has commanded that I go out and tell the world about Him. Take a few moments and elaborate on your why section of your party invitation. Set a timer for 5 minutes and use all 5 of those minutes to list out as many reasons as possible for your why. If you're ready to get serious about reaching your spiritual spring goals, press pause and brainstorm, and I'll be here when you press play. Reality check: there will be tough days and times you won't want to work towards your spiritual goals. This is where you lean into your why and make yourself do it. Pro tip, this is when I big time pray. There have been countless times my flesh is fighting me and giving me every reason not to open my Bible. I know the enemy is hard at work trying to keep my Bible shut, so praying through these moments is key. Here's an example of what I pray when I feel like this. God, thank you for giving me easy access to the Bible. I don't want to take it for granted. Please help me want to read my Bible. I want to know you more. I want to be close to you, and I know you want that for me too. Help me fight against my flesh when it's weak. Help me keep my eyes on you and focus on my why. Thank you for my God-given goal, and help me stick with it. When you can remember that the difference is in the discipline, focus on your why, and pray through the tough moments, you'll notice that you're more likely to stick with your spiritual spring goals. Also, shout out back to tip number 1 when we talked about accountability. Do yourself a favor and let another believer who you can trust hold you to your goal, plan, and discipline. It will be worth it. Bonus tip number 4, bet you didn't see that coming. This works for all goals. But wait, there's more. My 3 tips to stay consistent during the spring don't just work for springtime. They work all the time. Bonus. They work on any goal, too. If you've got a God-inspired goal and He's given you the green light to go for it, these 3 tips to stay consistent during your busy season will work. I am praying over all of you who are listening to this podcast today. I pray you hear God's voice and guidance today as you reflect on this episode. Pray and ask God to show you where in your spiritual life you could use a good revamp. Remember, it is spiritual spring training. Save this podcast episode or send it to a friend, and y'all can both kind of link up and share your SMART goals together. That wraps up episode 72. We are in the Spiritual Spring Training mini-series. I'll see you next week for some more.